Well, hey there, quizzical people, and welcome back to DAFAVRS. Now, no, my voice will not always be this deep and sultry. As soon as I'm better, which I pray to God that it's soon, I will once again be talking in my less deep and far less sultry and mostly annoying voice, so you have that to look forward to. But enough about my poor health and the fact that right now my body is a walking pharmacy. Let's get to the question. Today's question comes from Anonymous and says, Dear DAFAVRS, actually the Dear DAFAVRS is implied. How do I make my writing, like for papers in school, not suck so much? Currently it takes me forever to write anything and the grammar's still horrible. How can I improve? Now this question jumped out to me personally because growing up I was one of the students that the teachers constantly labeled has so much potential. And it actually wasn't until this last semester that I figured out a way to make writing my papers less painful. And keep in mind that I said less painful. If you're not the type of person that just loves writing papers, there's no magical way to make them suddenly better. I mean, there were always those other people in high school that would show up the day a paper was due and be like, yeah, I finished my paper in like an hour, no big deal, 6 pages, whatever. Which just made you so angry because they can just shout out this paper in like 6 hours and it took you 2 nights of this Red Bull induced hazed fever to type out this essay and they make an A and you make a C and you're just like, God, what am I doing with my life? And then when you talk to your teacher about it, she'd be like, oh, maybe you should have started sooner. Now that might be the right answer, but it certainly isn't as simple as your teacher makes it out to be. So, for the next few minutes, I'm going to list out some ways that I found help me write the paper and get it done better, more quickly, and with a slightly better grade. Now, when it's weeks before your papers actually due, the thought of starting it can be, well, daunting. Especially when you get into the upper years of high school or college and that panic starts to set in and all the research papers just keep getting bigger and bigger, and when you're in high school you're like, ah, 2-page paper, that's so tough, but now you're in college and you're like, oh god, I have a 20-page paper due by the end of the week. So what can you do? Well, in those 3 weeks prior to the time your paper is due, get some easy stuff out of the way. The first thing to do is to realize what type of paper you're writing. Now for the majority of my life, I've only written 2 types of paper: the analysis paper and the research paper. Now I know it sounds like common sense, but depending on what type of paper you're doing, that will affect the overall structure of your paper. Once you get there, you have a basic mold with how to write your paper, and so the idea becomes less daunting. So what are these types of papers? Well, an analysis paper is what you'll generally find in an English or performance or communications class where you have to read a book or a play or a short story or a poem or something and write a basic analysis of it. This can include summaries, critiques, all of that's in an analysis. Now since coming to college, I found that analysis papers don't generally get assigned as much, and even thinking back into high school, that wasn't the major thing that we were constantly doing. And so for the main purposes of this video, I'm going to be talking about the second category, which are research papers. Besides awkward love life, if there's ever a reason for a college student to have ulcers, it's because of the stress of research papers. When given a research paper, you're generally either assigned a topic or pick one from a basic umbrella category, and then you do research, and then you write a paper on it. At face value, these types of papers can seem really stressful because when you're looking at it, you see you have to do all this research. Once you've done all the research, you have to make sure everything goes into place, and what if some of the things that you research don't fit in and then you have to find new sources? All of these factors and more can lead into a person waiting until the last minute to do it, which is not the way to go. So here are some things that can help make the writing process a bit easier. 1, pick something that you're interested in. Now sometimes, like I said, you're assigned a topic and you may have no interest whatsoever. But in many other cases, you're given a little freedom on an area that you might enjoy. So when you're in the class, think to yourself, what's gonna mildly keep your attention more so than the other things that will immediately make you want to bang your head into your keyboard? You're generally given a fairly wide timetable, so for the next few days, research 1 article a day. Your school library is probably hooked up to EBSCO or one of the larger databases where you can find journal articles. Now if your school doesn't, there are many places on the internet where you can find articles or sections of articles, which may be all you need, And I'll list a group of some of those down here. In many classes, the professors will want you to have a certain amount of articles, so like you need to have 6 to 15 scholarly sources. Now the tendency here will be to find 6 scholarly sources, and the problem it will arise when you're writing your paper, you may not end up being able to use all of them. And so in this case, it's better to overshoot. For example, if your professor says you need at least 6 scholarly sources, try to pick 9 or 10. That way, if you don't end up using 2 or 3, you still got your 6 sources, and if you do end up using more, then it looks really impressive. Some professors will give you an outline about how they want the format to go, and these are the greatest types of professors because you have a skeletal outline of how your paper should be written. The problem arises when you have those professors that really don't give you an idea of what format or what structure they're looking for. So in these cases, it's best to create a little outline prior. Good God, I'm boring myself. It's almost done, guys, I promise. Now here's how I generally structure my papers, although there are probably many better ways to structure papers. So you have your overall category. When you're creating an outline, create 3 categories that can be drawn from here. These categories are going to be the 3 main sections, or the body. Before you do your research, try to have an idea of what you want these to be. That way you can more narrowly focus down your research. From that point on, just fill up the body as best you can, depending on how long the paper needs to be. Remember when going from one paragraph to the next to have a connecting sentence in each thing. So Anonymous, I know I was being really vague and really broad, but if you have any more specific questions, or viewers, if you have any more questions, feel free to message me, one of the other DAFAVRS members, or place a comment down below. Alright, quizzical individuals, you have a great day, and until next time, I'm Sam Groom.